Okay, Chevra, welcome back to our Lunch and Learn. Yosef, thank you again for arranging. Big Ziti was delicious. And Pizza 41, Chazak Baruch. Our learning today is Refuah Shlema, is a merit for Refuah Shlema for our dear friend Yaakov Ben Dina. We're going to learn a fascinating sugya in Masechet Brachot that has to do with dream interpretation. Amazing sugya, very, very interesting. A lot of what we're going to learn today, I don't know that I necessarily can explain to you. Ask Yosef after; he'll explain everything. This is very esoteric. But there is a famous story with a fellow whose name was Bar Hedya. Bar Hedya, the son of Hedya. He was a dream interpreter. People would come to him with their dreams, and he used to interpret them. But it wasn't just whatever he interpreted actually came true.
Like Yosef.
Like Yosef, exactly. So Bar Hedya had this ability to interpret dreams, and they would really become the reality. The Gemara earlier had said, all of the dreams follow the interpretation, which is to say that however the person who interprets them says it will be, that's what's going to be. That's what the Gemara said. Now there's a big discussion about this. What types of dreams is that true with? Maybe it's not applicable across the board, but let's just take it. That's the understanding, is there is such a concept, Kol hachalamot holchin achar hapitaron. Kol hachalamot holchin achar hapeh. All dreams follow the interpretation, which means if the person who's interpreting says something good, so then good. If he says something negative, chas v'shalom. So we're going to see a fascinating story here. We know Abayey and Rava. Abayey and Rava were chavrutot, they were friends, and they had a series of dreams that were the same. So they both went to this guy Bar Hedya to interpret their dreams. The problem was as follows. Bar Hedya had the following policy. His policy was, if you pay me money, so I give you good interpretation. If you don't pay me money, I give you a bad interpretation. Okay, so you'll say, okay, who cares? No, it makes a big difference because the dream interpretation that he did became reality. Abayey paid him money, and Rava didn't pay him money. So for Abayey, he said good interpretations, and for Rava, he said very bad interpretations. We're going to see not just very bad interpretations. So Bezat Hashem, you get what you pay for, exactly. What's it called? Good, cheap. Hard to find good business, whatever it is. Don't be cheap, especially with the dream interpretation. We're not going to go through the whole sugya.
You get what you pay for.
We're not going to go through the entire sugya. It's a very long sugya. We'll begin the first few examples and we'll skip to the end of the story. Okay? So Bezat Hashem, we're starting in Masechet Brachot in Vav Amud Aleph 56a, and the Gemara starts off as follows. I'm going to read the beginning of the story and we'll skip to the end because really it's similar examples. We're not going to go through all of them today. Says the Gemara, Bar Hedya mafsher chelmi hava. Bar Hedya was a dream interpreter. Man di'ahiv le'igra. If somebody paid him money, so mafsher le'lemal yuta, he would interpret the dream positively. Man de'lo yahiv le'agra. If someone didn't give him money, mafsher le'legreuta, so he would interpret the dream negatively. I think Yosef, you're going to start setting up a dream interpretation shop. It's a good business. Now, Abayey and Rava chazu chalma. Abayey and Rava both had similar dreams. Actually, 13 examples the Gemara goes through where they each had the same dream and they approached him to interpret their dreams. So Abayey yahiv le'zuzah, Rava lo yahiv le. Abayey would pay money, Rava would not pay money. Oh, this is a chut yesh lanu. Okay, come. So Abayey paid money, Rava didn't pay money.
Sounds like he's biased.
Very interesting. Listen to this.
So
now, there's 13 examples that the Gemara goes through. We're not going to go through all the examples because it's too long. But let's go through a few of the examples just so you get the picture of how this played out. So Amrile, one day they approached Bar Hedya. Again, Abayey and Rava, they both approached Bar Hedya, and they said, Akarinan bechalmin. We had a dream where we were read in the dream a pasuk in the Tochacha. We know in the Tochacha it's the curses, that the Jews will be cursed if they don't keep Torah and mitzvot. The end of Devarim, in Kitavo, right? And the pasuk that was read to both of us in a dream was Shochat tavuach le'enecha. Your ox will be slaughtered in front of you, and you won't be able to eat it. Now this is in the Tochacha. So Abayey and Rava both had this dream, and they wanted to know what's the pshat. But again, Abayey paid.
Same dream?
Same dream. Abayey paid, Rava didn't pay. Okay? So the Rava Amar le pasid iskech. For Rava, he said, what's going to happen is you're going to lose your business. You're not going to eat it. It means you're going to lose all of your business. And because of your sadness, because of your depression, you're not even going to be able to eat. That's what it means. The pshat in the dream is you're not going to be able to eat because you're going to lose, you're going to do terrible in business and you're going to not be able to eat. That's what he said to Rava. But for Abayey, Marle marveach iskech. Your business will be so successful. You're going to be so excited about your business, you won't be able to eat. Understand? Literally polar opposites. Pasuk says you won't be able to eat, but Abayey paid, so we got a good interpretation. Rava didn't pay, so we got a bad interpretation. Okay, we're not going to go through all the examples. Let's do a couple more just so we get the picture here. Amrile, so then they said to Bar Hedya, okay, we each had the same dream. It's an interesting thing, they had the same dream. But anyways, Akarina, they read to us in a dream the following. Banimu banot tolid vegomer. The Pasuk says, you will have boys and sons and daughters, and they'll be taken b'shevi, in captivity. They'll be taken away. Hashem Yishmo, but look how he said to Abayey. So the Rava, Marle, he interpreted for Rava, again, the fellow who didn't pay, kibishute, like the simple explanation, which is chas v'shalom, your children will be taken as captives. Terrible. But Abayey Amarle, banecha ubnatach nefishin, for Abayey, because he paid money, he said, you're going to have many sons and daughters. Uminsivan benatech le'alma, and your daughters will marry men, means you'll marry them off. Umidamyan ba'apech ka'azlan b'shviya, and it'll be like in your mind, like they're being taken into captivity. Now it's not really being taken into captivity, but it means they'll be taken away. But that's a good thing. You want your daughters to get married, not a bad thing. So the point is, for Abayey he said a nice thing. For Rava he said, chas v'shalom, a terrible thing. Unbelievable. Should we do another one? Let's do another one. Akaryun, they said, we had a dream, and it said, the pasuk in Tochacha again, Banecho b'notecha netunim la'am acher, that your sons and your daughters will be given over to a different nation. Okay, this is also part of Tochacha, not a good thing. But Abayey Amarle Banecho b'notecha nefishin. Again, like for Abayey, he said, you'll have many sons and many daughters, and because you had so many kids, you're going to argue with your wife who they should marry. Used to be back in the day, they married cousins. We don't usually do this anymore, but so I'll just tell you what he says outside. You're going to want to marry your kids off to your cousins. Your wife's going to want to marry your kids off to her cousins. She's going to convince you that you should marry off to her cousins, so it's like Am Acher. It's like another nation. But that's not a bad thing, that's a good thing, meaning your kids will get married. But for Rava, he said that your wife is going to die. Unbelievable. Say kriveh. Avikas, right? Your wife is going to die. How is this like am acher? Because you're going to remarry, and then your children will be raised by a different woman. What do I mean by a different woman? It means you'll remarry. It'll be a stepmother, and therefore a stepmother is going to raise your children. So after your wife dies, it'll be like your children are with a different nation because they're raised by a different woman. Now that's already, we're getting very extreme. And we're not going to go through the rest of the examples in this, but there are 13 examples where both Abayey and Rava presented a dream that they had the same dream. Since Abayey paid, he interpreted nicely, and since Rava didn't pay, he said not only not nicely, but extreme, very extreme. Okay, let's continue in the story a little bit now. So after 13 examples, Rava said to himself, you know, maybe when I go with Abayey to ask to interpret the dreams, I get negative answers. I'll try going by myself. Okay, that's what he decided. I'll go by myself to Bar Hedya. I'm going to skip now. So the Gemara says, L'sof, in the end, I'm just skipping towards the bottom of the page. Azal Rava lechudei. Rava went to Bar Hedya by himself. Lechudei legabei. So then he presented another series of dreams, 4 more dreams. And each one of these he still didn't pay. So he still interpreted them negatively. I'll just give you a few examples. Amar le, chazai dasha briata dinafal. I saw in my dream that the outer door of my house fell down. Okay, the outer door of my house fell down. So we know bayit, wife, is called bayit. Wife is called the house. So Amar le, so Bar Hedya said to him, Ishtecha shichva, your wife is going to die. Again, extreme, you're taking it very... very intense, right?
I hope the wife is skinnier than the house.
Skinnier than the house? Okay, fine. That's not the idea. The point is that you said your wife is going to die. Okay, no. So the point is that your wife's going to die. Fine. And then there's a series of more examples. The same idea where Rava tried to present his dreams by himself, Each one of them was terrible
He
interpretation.
couldn't figure out he got to pay him?
He couldn't figure it out he had to pay him. Unbelievable thing. So seemingly. So let's just skip.
He take it negatively because he don't pay.
Yeah.
He interpreted negatively. That was his policy. If you come and you present a dream and you pay me,
And such
I
a
give
great
you,
man
I
didn't
give you
know.
a good shot.
And such a great man like Rava didn't know.
So that's going to be something we have to figure out. But if you pay me, I give you a good shot. You don't pay me,
But
chas v'shalom.
did it happen? Whatever.
And these things ended up happening. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Crazy story. Okay, let's continue. Let's just skip to the last one. So the last one was, in terms of interpreting negative, is that Rava came to, it was the fourth example actually in this list of by himself. Rava said to him, I saw in the dream 2 heads of turnips. Mazet turnips? You know what turnips is? Fevra? It's a vegetable. How do you say turnip in Hebrew? Is it lefet?
Left?
Is it lefet?
I guess.
Mazet lefet?
vegetable.
Left is a vegetable.
It's a vegetable. I think it's lefet. Anyways,
You
fine.
usually put it in a soup.
Yeah, I think it's lefet. Yeah, I think it's lefet. So he said to Bar Hedya, I saw 2 turnip heads, this vegetable, in my dream. So Amarle, train kulfi balat. You're going to absorb 2 hits. You're going to get hit twice. Beaten. You're going to get beaten twice. So Rava, he did a smart thing. He said, like, look, there's been an interpretation that I'm going to get hit twice. So what should I do? If I hang out in the street, this is Ben Yoyad that explains actually. If I hang out in the street or outside, so maybe some goyim will come and start to hit me. I'll go sit in the Beit Midrash. So what's going to happen? What's the worst that can happen? I'm in the Beit Midrash. Nothing's going to happen. So Azal Rava hu yoma. Rava went that day. V'yati Beit Midrasha kule yoma. The whole day he sat in the Beit Midrash. He couldn't escape this reality though, because listen to what happened. There were 2 blind people fighting in the Beit Midrash. So Rava approached them to try to break up the fight. Just tell you outside what happened.
So you get from each one of them.
So he broke up the fight, but in doing so, he got beaten by both of them. So the Gemara says they lifted their hands to hit him again. He said, no, I only had 2 in the dream. Then you have to stop there. And they stopped apparently. But that was the story. So the reality came to fruition. That's what ended up happening. Okay. So finally, Rava decided, all right, this is not effective mahalech. I need to pay the guy. I have dreams. I need to pay the guy because if I don't pay him, has v'shalom, he keeps telling me these negative things. It sounds like each of these things actually occurred. That's the point. Even terrible things like his wife dying. That's right.
He's already lost like 2 wives.
Crazy thing, right? L'sof, in the end, what's that?
He shouldn't go from big.
He shouldn't go from the beginning. You're saying, I hear you. It's unbelievable. L'sof, atar Rava v'yavle agra. So in the end, Rava came and he gave him money. He paid him to interpret his dreams. Beautiful. So now he went through a series of 4 more dreams, and each one happened to be wonderful. Because he paid him. That was the pshat. Okay, so let's just go through a few of them.
But it's crazy, no?
It's crazy. It's a crazy story. It's a crazy story. So Amar Le, so then he said to Bar Hedya after paying him, Chazai ashita dinafal. The wall of my house fell in my dream. I saw the wall of my house collapse. So now it sounds like a bad thing, but since he paid him, Amar Le, nechasim belo mitzarim kanita. You're going to acquire property without measure. It means you're going to become so wealthy like a wall without a house, meaning you won't even be able to contain all of your property. And he went on with a series of more examples where he said a dream that he had, but he paid him, and then Bar Hedya said all kinds of great things that were going to happen to him because of that.
Because he paid?
Because he paid him. Finally he paid him. He learned his lesson, right? Now the last one, which leads us to the end of this part of the episode, is that he said, in my dream, I heard them reading Hallel. Like Hallel, like we say in Shul. On Pesach, Sukkot, we read Hallel. Hallel. I heard them saying Hallel. So what's Pshat? What does that mean? So Bar Hedya said, miracles are going to happen to you like the Jews in Mitzrayim. Okay, miracles are going to happen. That was the... So the Gemara continues and says, after this, it seemed to be that was the end in terms of the dream interpretation. Second. Oh. So what ended up happening was Rava left with this understanding that he would have some sort of a miraculous thing happen to him based on the dream. Now the Gemara continues the story and tells us after this incident, it happened to be Rava and Bar Hedya were traveling together on a boat. Now Bar Hedya said to himself, I know that miracles are going to happen to Rava, which means there's going to be some sort of a situation that's dangerous, and a miracle is going to happen and he'll be saved. But the miracle is only going to happen for him. So I don't want to be on a boat with him. Because if I'm on a boat with him, and he had a prophecy that miracles are going to happen, but for me, so he wanted to get off of the boat. Bar Hedya wanted to get off, the dream interpreter. So the Gemara tells us, as Bar Hedya was going off the boat, what's that called? Going off.
A ramp?
Yeah, whatever, descending from the boat, disembarking, thank you. As he was disembarking, getting off of the ship, a book fell out of Bar Hedya's pocket, and the book was his dream interpretation book.
Wow, yeah.
So Rava looked at this book, he cracked it open, and Rava saw, what did the book say? That Ashgache Rava v'chaza, Rava saw, Tahava K'tiv, I just skipped a little bit, but I told you outside. Tahava K'tiv Be, that it said in the book, Kol ha'chalomot holchin achar hapeh, that all of the dreams follow its interpretation. So meaning, the whole time, Bar Hedya had the capacity to interpret nicely or negatively.
Whatever he said, that's what
And he chose to interpret negatively because he wouldn't pay him.
Uh-huh.
You know, now, it seems like Rava didn't realize that before. Everyone's asking, like,
Yeah.
he wouldn't realize that before. Okay, but now he saw it's like the cheat sheet fell out of his pocket. Like now he saw the tachlis, what's going on over here. It's unbelievable. So Rava turned to him and he said the following. So Rava turned to Bar Hedya and he said, Rasha, wicked person. Bedidach kaima v'tza'aratan kulehai. It was dependent on you. You had the ability to tell me good or bad, and you decided when I wasn't paying you before to tell me terrible things, and you caused all kinds of bad things to happen to me. But Rava said, as the Ben Yoyada points out, I don't want to hold akpada against you, so I will forgive you for everything besides for the death of my wife. Besides for the death of Rav Chizda's daughter, which was his wife. That's what he said. Kul umachil nalach, I forgive you for everything. Bar mi barte de Rav Chizda, besides for the death of the daughter of Rav Chizda, mi barte de Rav Chizda, which was his wife. And we're going to see in a minute, Ben Yoyada explains why that was the one thing he held out.
Seems like he took advantage of the situation.
Who, Bar Hedya?
Yeah.
For sure, no question. And he finished off by saying, Yehei Ra'ava, it should be Hashem's will, Dilimsara hu gavra, Li'dei de malchuta de lo merachamu alei. Hashem should create a situation that you're given over to a malchut, to a government that doesn't have mercy on you. Hashem will take care of you. Somehow he'll orchestrate a situation, the government will grab you and do what they need to do with you. Fine. So Bar Hedya realized now he had a big problem.
He's in trouble.
He just got cursed by Rava. Okay? So Bar Hedya said, Mayavi, what should I do? Gemiri, we have a tradition. That if a chacham curses somebody, even if it's for no reason, it becomes true. It's effective. And certainly Rava, he had good reason to curse me. So now I'm really in hot water. So he thought to himself, what could I do to remove the punishment as a kapara? I don't want to chas v'shalom get killed, so what could I do? So Amari said, Ekum v'igli, I'll go and exile myself. Amar Mar, galut mechaperet avon. There is such a concept. Exile atones for sin. If somebody needs to be punished for some reason, going into galut, exile, away from your comforts, away from your family, away from all of that, it acts as a kapara. So he said, maybe I'll go into galut, and this will be an atonement for my wrongdoing. So he tried. Let's see what happens. So Kam Galil be Roma. He went and exiled himself by the Romans. As we'll see, he went and exiled himself near the palace of the Caesar, the Romans. And he exiled himself near an area where there was the treasure house and the guardian of the treasure house of the king. So the king had a treasure house, he kept all of his expensive things, and there was a guard at the door, and this Bar Hedya exiled himself there. But he couldn't escape interpreting dreams, because as we're about to see... What?
It was inside of the safe.
The treasures were in a storage house, otzel, some sort of a storage house. But Bar Hedya couldn't escape his job, because in the end of the day, what we're going to see now is the guard of the treasure house started to have dreams. And he came to Bar Hedya to interpret those dreams. It's unbelievable. So the Gemara tells us, Reish Torzina Chazach Alma. So this guard of the Roman treasure house of the king had a dream. And he knew that Bar Hedya was a dream interpreter. So Marle, he said to Bar Hedya, I saw in a dream that a needle fell on my finger. or it entered my finger. Ayil, went on my finger. So Amar le havli zuzah. So Bar Hedya said, look, pay me money. You want me to interpret? Pay me money. What do you want from me? He did not learn his lesson, this guy. So he did a little bit. Let's see.
He was a big businessman.
Velo yavle. So he didn't pay. So he learned not to say something. But velo amar le velo midi. But Bar Hedya didn't say anything. Meaning, I'm not going to say something, but I'm not going to say anything either. Meaning, I'm just going to be quiet. Okay. So amar le velo midi. Amar le. So then the guard of the treasure house had another dream. And he said, I saw in the dream, 2 worms fell on my fingers. Worms fell on 2 of my fingers. So Amar Le, so the Bar Hedya said, again, Havli Zuzah, give me money. I want money and then I'll give you. Velo Yavle wouldn't give. Velo Amar Le, so he was quiet, he didn't say anything. Fine. Finally, he had a third dream, this guard. Velo Amar Le, I saw worms fall on my entire hand. Okay, so this is a strange dream. So finally, Bar Hedya had enough. You're not paying me? He gave a bad pshat, a bad interpretation. Marle, the silk in the storage house that belongs to the emperor is going to be completely consumed by worms. Meaning the silk, it's like an expensive material. Yeah. It's going to be completely consumed by worms. That's what the dream was telling you, completely destroyed. And kachava, that's what ended up happening. The dreams meant
such a power.
It seems like a real story. Yeah, it seems like. So Shami Bey Malka Vatiol Reish Torzina. So the government heard, the governor, the king heard, and he got upset at the guard, and he schlepped the guard in. They're going to kill the guard. You're supposed to be guarding the stuff in storage, and you're letting it get consumed by the worms. You're not doing your job. So Kakatu, they wanted to kill him. So the guard turned to the government, the emperor. Amar le, why are you bringing me? Bring Bar Hedya, because he knew about this and he didn't say anything. Meaning he said, to look at Bar Hedya. He knew the interpretation, seemingly. He knew that worms were consuming the expensive silks of the governor, and he didn't say anything. So what did they do? Bar Hedya. They brought Bar Hedya. Amrile, and they said to him, Amatu zuzadidach, charvu shirai, turning to Nvav Mudbet, shirai demalka. Because you were so desperate to get money, you caused all of the silk of the king to be destroyed. And they sentenced him to be executed to death. Okay, so Rava's curse ended up coming true. How did he get killed? So the Gemara tells us, it's unbelievable. The way of death that they did, this is a gruesome death. This is the top of Navav Mudbet. Kafitu train arzi bechavla. They took 2 cedar trees and they tied them together with a rope. You see where I'm going with this? It gets pretty PG-13 over here. Asur chad karei lechad arze v'chad karei lechad arze. Maybe a shtickle R, I don't know. And they tied one leg of Bar Hedya on one tree and the other leg on the other tree. You see where I'm going with this? V'sharu lechevla ade itztalek reshe. And then they cut the rope until the tree is separated and his entire body split up to his head.
Wow.
I think it's called quartering. That there was like such a way they used to put people to death back in the day. And the Gemara finishes off, Azal kol chad v'chad v'kama duchte v'yitztalek v'nafal b'train, he separated into 2 pieces. End of the story.
Wow.
Crazy story.
Hashem Yishmo.
Hashem Yishmo is right.
Why did you bring the story?
What is it? Real story.
Anybody that's going to interpret that's going to happen or no? Or
no. So first of all, it has to be l'chorah. It has to be something significant. Stam in general, I don't think everyone has this koach of interpretation. But I just wanted to share with you an idea that Ben Yoyada says. In this story, we had Rava had said, "I'll forgive you for everything, besides for death of my wife, the daughter of Avchizda, which was his wife." So why was he makbid on that one thing? See, Ben Yoyada says, really, Chachamim, their way is, if somebody offends them or hurts them, in a terrible way even, they don't want someone else to get punished because of them. So therefore, if somebody hurts them, they naturally want to forgive. Because if they don't forgive, there's going to be an onesh against that person because of them.
Like Lakish.
Yeah, exactly. Meaning, they don't want that necessarily. So listen to what Ben Yoyada says. So what was unique about his wife specifically?
Canceling the thing.
Okay, so the Gemara, Ben Yoyada says as follows. We'll begin actually the beginning of it. It says like this. Makshim, the Mefarshim ask, Ma chidush ra'ata Rava? What chidush Rava, seemingly, he didn't realize in the beginning of the story that all the dreams go after the mouth. But why didn't he understand that? And that's all right, I skipped a step. Ben Yoyada says, why didn't he realize that from the beginning? Clearly,
Because
the
it's
dreams.
so good.
What's that? Well, what the question is that after one or two times, you'd think that he would have realized it all follows the mouth and the interpretation, and that's what's going to happen. So why didn't he initially understand until the book fell out and he saw that? So he says like this, he knew dreams follow the interpretation. He thought Bar Hedya did not realize that the dreams that he's interpreting follow his interpretation. So he thought Bar Hedya was interpreting out of innocence. He didn't think Bar Hedya had some agenda. He just thought that Bar Hedya thought this was the interpretation. He didn't want to do it intentionally to hurt Rava. And therefore, he didn't get upset at Bar Hedya in the beginning. But when he realized the book fell out of Bar Hedya's jacket, and he saw Bar Hedya clearly knew from the onset that all of his interpretations will come true, that's when he became upset at Bar Hedya.
But he didn't know that Abayey also had the same dream as
He apparently didn't know this, exactly. He didn't know
Because
necessarily...
if the interpretation is equal,
Right, exactly. He didn't maybe...
one by one.
Maybe he didn't know that Abayey had the same interpretation. Exactly. And he continues and he says, okay, so why did he forgive Bar Hedya for everything besides for the death of his wife? So he says like this. He forgave him for everything, like Chachamenu say, Shelo tihiyeh ne'enash al yadi te'echamiru bazeh Chachamenu zechonam levacha. He didn't want, like the Chachamim teach us, someone else to get punished because of him. Even though Bar Hedya had been cruel to him and terrible to him, if he would not forgive Bar Hedya, what would happen? Bar Hedya would end up getting punished indirectly or directly because of him. He didn't want him to get punished because of him. Well, hold on. So he said, I'll forgive you for everything that's nogea to me. I'll forgive you for everything you did to me. To me, that I could be mochel on.
But the wife is...
Lebar mi bar Rav Chizda she'en davar ze nogea li bilvad ela nogea la'tzadeket ve'eni rashai lemcholach. But I can't forgive you for the death of my wife because she was a tzadeket. I can't forgive you for what you did to her. That I can't forgive you for. It wasn't that he was saying, I want to maintain a grudge against you. I want to maintain my upsetedness against you. I'm a tzaddik and I'll be mochel you completely for everything you did. But the fact that you gave an interpretation knowingly that it would cause my wife to die and she was a tzaddiket, I can't be mochel you for that. Because that's her account. That's not my account. There has to be some nikama for the wife, for the woman who she was a tzaddiket and you caused her to die, and I can't forgive you for that. And he went on to say, the point is that that's why he ended up having to get punished, because that was something he could not forgive. Adkan, that's our story for the day. Wow. What do we learn from this? Think about it. I'll come up with something good. I'd say don't mess with the tzaddikim. That's what I would say. What do you say, Yosef?
Seems like one of those stories that you hear, like you tell the kids a story.
Unbelievable, right? Unbelievable, yeah.
Spooky story?
Spooky story. It's a Gemara. Abayey Rava.
But it seems like he caused, in some way, he's basically the responsible for the death.
Who?
Bar Hedya.
Bar Hedya, yeah.
If you know that the Chalomot, but 1 second. But Rava didn't know that the Chalomot followed the...
He did. That's what Ben Yoyada is saying. He's saying is, Pshat, he knew, Rava knew, and he thought Bar Hedya was doing it out of innocence. He didn't have an agenda. But when the book fell out, he realized, because it didn't pay him, he was giving me bad interpretations.
So that's basically the miracle that happened to Rava? Because Abayey wanted to go with Rava, and miracle would happen.
No, Bar Hedya wanted to go with Rava. Bar Hedya went with Rava. And when
He
Bar
paid
Hedya...
him. I wasn't so wait for
No.
He paid him.
In the end, Rava decided I'll pay him.
Okay.
And then he started to give good
How did they
interpretations.
punch him, right?
Right.
How did they punch him? He paid him.
And then he gave good interpretations. Then they went on a boat together. Bar Hedya got off and a book fell out, and he realized Bar Hedya knew all along. So it means he knew, and knowingly, he still said bad things. So then he said, that I can't. All right, we'll stop here. B'ezrat Hashem, we're learning today is Refuah Shleima for Yaakov ben Dinah. Have a wonderful week, everybody. All the best.